Welcome to lecture number 8 on the mobile application development. So with the last lecture, we started with the new chapter that is called as intents and layouts. And in that we saw some important terminologies. So we started with the view and view group definition, and we saw what do you mean by view and what do you mean by view group. And then we studied what do you mean by layouts. So we said that view is nothing but a different kind of input controls with which user can interact, and the arrangement of the views and view groups is basically called as the layouts. Now, how many such a possible layouts are available? So Android provides a variety of layouts in order to design the user interfaces. So we said there is a linear layout if you want to arrange input controls either horizontally or vertically in the single direction. Then so there is a different kind of layout that was called as the relative layout, which was the more flexible version, which allows us to design the user interface. So in a relative layout, we can set the position of the input controls relative to either parent or relative to other views. Now, what we are interested today in order to see the remaining layouts. Start. So the layout that we will start this particular lecture is basically a frame layout. The name suggests it's just like a frame of the photos that you use. So basically what you have is you have a single frame, and inside now in a single frame, if you're putting a multiple photos, they will be overlapping on each other. In the same way, you can say all the children's inside the frame layout, as you go on adding inside that, they will be overlapping on each other. So we can say along the Z axis, all the controls that will put inside the frame layout will be overlapping on each other. Now, as we said already, each kind of control will be represented in two ways. In Java perspective, basically a class which is inside a package android.widget, while in XML, the frame layout is represented as an XML element. Now let's try to understand the frame layout with the help of example. So for that, we'll launch the Android Studio. In the Android Studio launch, we'll understand the frame layout. Now in relative layout, we said that there are different attributes available, that is to top of, to the left of, or to below of, in order to give the relative positions. Now in frame layout, since the controls are overlapping each other, we don't have such kind of relative positioning attributes, but we have only one attribute here, and that is basically called as layout gravity. Now the gravity defines the position of any element in the corresponding view group. As you can see, the studio is started. Let me resize it. Now, in order to study the frame layout, we'll add one more activity. So currently you can see inside the resources, we have two activities. In this activity, we have studied the linear layout, while in the main activity 2, we have studied the relative layout. So the first activity was for linear, the second activity is for the relative layout. Now we'll create one more activity just to understand layout. So we'll right click on the project, click on new, and we'll add one empty activity. So we'll navigate to activity and we'll add one empty activity. Now let's call it as the main activity 3, and we'll click on the finish. And as you can see, once you click on finish, it will add the main activity 3. So this is the main activity 3.java, which we are currently not interested in because this is basically related to the coding. what we are interested in layout design. So we'll navigate to the activity main3.xml. Now, as you can see, the by default layout set for this is the constraint layout. We'll try to change this particular layout. Now the layouts we have changed to the frame layout. Now, in order to understand a frame layout, let's add some kind of component. Now, let's add the component of type image view. Now, the image view is basically a component which will consist of an image. So before adding the component, let us download the image. So we'll go to the and we'll navigate to any search engine and we'll go to the images and we'll simply write some kind of image. So we'll click on, we'll search for the Android and we can download an image. So let's say we'll download this particular image. So this image is very big. Let's search for some other image. So we'll download this particular image and we'll save this particular image. We'll save this image on the desktop with any name. Let's call it as some image or JPG. Once we click this on save, see the image has downloaded. Now what we are supposed to do now is basically to add this image inside the image view. So for that we need to first of all import the image inside our project. Now we already said whatever the image resources are there, we'll be putting it inside a drawable. So what we'll simply do here is on this particular image, we'll click on the copy. We'll simply click on the copy. Then we'll navigate to Android Studio and our project. And now we'll right click on the drawable. And here inside the drawable, we'll click on the paste. Now, as soon as we click on the paste, it will ask you to choose the folder. So we'll choose the folder by default. Now it will ask you what will be the name of the image. So I'll keep the name as it is and click on OK. As you can see, if I click on OK, it will add the some image.jpg here. Now let's add the image inside the image view. So first of all, let's set the dimensions for the image view. Now I want the image view to fill the entire background here. So I can say the image view has the width as match parent and also the height as a match parent. This image view will fill entire parent. Now I have to assign the image for the image view. So I'll simply select the image source and we know it's inside a drawable. So we'll select @drawable and from that we have the image as some image. So this image is set as a background image. Now let's try to scale this particular image. So scale Y or rather than we can set image. Let's search for the size. So So let's say scale y is equal to 500 dp, or we'll increase it slightly. So this will be the image we'll be setting to the background. Now we can see the image is added here and set to the background. Since the image is not of the required size, so it is scaled, so that's why it's looking like this. Now let's add a button here. Now for the button, we'll take the width as a match parent, so that the button will match the entire width of the parent, and height will take it as wrap content. And here we'll say the text of the button is visit website. As you can see, the button is now added onto the screen, but the button at the top of the image. So the image is basically in the background and the button is overlapping that particular image. So as you go on adding the views, they will be overlapping on each other. So let's add one more button. Now before that, as we know, we have ID to each. So let's call it as BTN1. So this is the button 1. Of course, you can give any ID here, and we'll simply copy this particular button code and we'll paste it here. And for this particular button, we'll be calling it as button 2. Now for this button, I'll say visit Facebook. Now as you can see, the visit Facebook is now visible, but the visit website button is no longer visible now. Now the reason behind this is simply this visit Facebook button is overlapping the visit website button. So as you go on adding the elements, they will be overlapping the previous elements. Now how to align those items with the help of only one attribute, and that is what we call it as gravity. Now gravity defines what will be the position of your control with respect to the parent. So if I want to move these buttons, and so I'll select the gravity as bottom. So as you can see, the visit website button is gone at the bottom position in the parent. Now the same thing I'll do for the Facebook. So I'll again set the gravity and I'll again set to the bottom. Now as you can see, the visit Facebook button is also available at the bottom, but still it is overlapping the visit website button. Now what I need to do here is, in order to make these two buttons visible at the same times, I'll add some margin from the bottom. We have to show the visit website button, and below that we have to show the visit Facebook button. So for that, the visit website button will have the margin from the bottom. So I can say margin from bottom, and we'll add some margin of 50 dp. Now as you can see, now all the three components are visible. So image is in the background, then we have the visit website button which has the margin from bottom as 50 dp, that's the 50 device independent pixels, and the gravity of this particular button is bottom. Now gravity means the position in the parent where the same way the gravity is given to the Facebook button also, that is visit Facebook button also, but since we have not added any margin, it is simply at the is as you go on adding the elements in, or the child inside the frame layout will be overlapping on each other. So this is what about the frame layout. Now if you have any, please ask. If you have any doubts regarding the frame layout, you can ask inside a chat box. Otherwise, we'll proceed further. So very simple layout is there. The controls will overlap each other. In order to align the controls, we have to use only one attribute, and that particular attribute is nothing but the layout gravity. So this was about the frame layout. Now the next layout that we have is basically called as a table layout. Now you already has studied the table layout when you have studied the HTML. Now same kind of concept is available with the Android layout design also, and that is basically called as the table layout. Now as it shows, the table layout arranges the views in terms of rows and columns. Now we have you can see and will see but using by add any input control. We create post and table as let's say as you can see it is my speaker to you. What model have Hello, can you hear me? It means this button will be inside a column, that is column number 2. So it will go inside this column number 2. So if I remove the weight here, you can see it's actually aligning in column number 2. So let me remove the weight. We'll simply copy this button. So here you can see there are total 4 columns available, and out of that our button is available in column number 2. That is the actual third column. To the last column, I'll give the column number as 3. So it will move the button to the last column. Now let's add one more row by using the element called the table row. And now here we'll add the button, 2 buttons. So we'll simply copy this code and we'll paste it here. Now here we have added 2 buttons. Now let's move this particular button at the last column. That is nothing but column number 0, 1, 2 and 3. So in order to move the second button to the last column, we'll use the attribute as layout column, and the last column will now have the number, column number starts from 0. Now I want this particular button to span all the first 3 columns. I want this particular button to span all the first 3 columns. In order to do that, I have one more property, and that is basically called as layout span. Now layout span spans the view across the multiple columns. Now here we have to span this particular button across the first 3 columns. So for this particular button, that's button number 1 in the row number 4, I have to add one property that is called as the layout span. Now since it's spanning 3 columns, I'll simply add the number 3. As you can see, it is spanning across the 3 columns. So this is what the table layout means. So for a table layout, the important thing to remember is, for a table layout, what you can create is basically a row by using a table row element. Then the number of columns in a single row depends upon the present inside that columns, because in a first row, since there are only 3 views, I can say there are 3 columns inside the first row. For the second row, I have 4 buttons, so I can say for a second row I have the 4 columns. For a third row, I can say there is only 1 button available, so only 1 column inside that, but I can modify the position of the column based upon the number here starts from the 0 for a table layout. Then if you want to span a single view across the multiple columns, then you can do it by using a property that's called as a layout span. So this is what about the table layout and how you can design any kind of layout by using the table layout. So if you have any doubts regarding to the table layouts, please ask. Otherwise, we'll proceed further. Yeah, any doubt in the table layout? Yeah, so layout span. Okay, so let me explain the layout span again. So there is one doubt regarding to layout span. So let's say this is our table row. So we will make our layout simple, and inside the table row we'll add one button with the text. Now let me add 4 such buttons, 3 and 4. Now we have 4 such buttons total 4 columns in my table layout, or there are total 4 columns inside the first table row. Now let's create one table row more. So let's create one table row by adding the table row element here, and now let's add the button inside the table row. Now as you can see, this button I have added inside the second row is now available inside the very first column. Now, if I want to span this button across the remaining columns, so I want to span this particular button in such a way that it will occupy the space of all other columns. How I can do that? Okay, so how much columns it has to span? So we know there are total 4 columns. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So it has to span across the 4 columns. So I can add this particular property as layout span and 4. So as you can see, this button will be spanning across the entire 4 columns. Suppose to keep the width of this button of 2 columns, then I'll simply layout as 2. So it will only span 2 columns out of 4 columns. So that is nothing but the spanning property. I think. Hello. So this is what about the table layout is. We have is basically called as the constraint layout. And as we said very initially, that constraint layout is a new addition done in the last year for the Android app development. Now, as the definition says, the constraint layout allows you to create a large and complex layout. So basically, when you want to design a very complex layout, we were initially using the relative layouts, but now it is suggested that if you want to go to the complex layout, using the constraint layout is a better solution. Now, the important feature of the constraint layout is it can create a complex layout with flat view hierarchy. Now let's try to understand what do you mean by a flat view hierarchy. Now for that, we'll try to take an example of the login screen. Let's try to design a login initially. So what we'll have here, we'll go to the activity 1, try to design the login screen. Okay. So let me delete this entire thing here. Now for a login screen, we'll take the layout. Now we know we have to create a login screen. For that with text view, so we require one text view, and in front of that we require one edit text. So for that we'll take one linear layout whose width is equal to match parent and height content. And for this linear layout, we have the orientation as horizontal. The linear layout, two different controls here. The first control is basically a text view whose width and height is equal to wrap content, and this view asks for the username. So I can say text as the username. And now let me increase the size of the text up to 25 scalable pixels. And now along with that, we'll add one. So width will be equal to match parent, height will be equal to wrap content, and the first edit text that will be taking the input as the username. Now below that, I have to take the same field for the password. Now we know this is basically a linear layout of orientation horizontal. So I need to take another linear layout. So I'll simply copy this. Here, and now I'll call it as password. and here for the edit text we'll keep it as it is. Now we have two linear layouts. Now as you can see, the two linear layouts at the same position. So within these two linear layouts, I need to have one more linear layouts and but the with orientation horizontal. So I can say this two linear layouts will be part of one more linear layout, and for this particular linear layout we'll set as vertical, and inside this linear layout we'll add our linear layouts as childs. Now in order to match these linear layouts, for the parent linear layout we'll set its width to match parent. Now, as you can see, once we add the match parent, you can see the corresponding login screen is created. Now the problem with this particular view is this particular layout creates a very difficult XML file. The reason behind this is, if you see here, the parent layout is the relative layout. Then inside that we have one linear layout with orientation vertical, and inside that particular linear layout we have two child linear layouts with orientation horizontal. So the problem here is we have created this particular UI successfully, but in order to create this UI successfully, we have to use multiple different layouts. So as you can see here, we have used three linear layouts and one relative layout. Now this is what we are calling it as not flat hierarchy. This particular hierarchy is not flat. The reason behind this is we have to use a multiple different layouts in this particular UI design. It's possible to design a user interface by making use of a single layout, and answer to this particular question is given by something called as the constraint layout. So with the constraint layout, you can design the entire screen layout by using a single hierarchy. That is nothing but a single layout. That's nothing but the constraint layout. So there is no need to mix the multiple layouts together, and that is what we are calling it as the flat view hierarchy. So flat view hierarchy means there is no mixing of multiple layouts together. We can make use of a single layout in order to design the user interface. Now, as we already said, this is not a different layout, we can say as such. This is basically a more powerful version of the relative layout. And this particular constraint layout is generally developed to support the drag and drop features. So drag and drop features were available previously also, previous to constraint layout also, but they were not so much user friendly. So in order to support the drag and drop, and in order to make the drag and drop user friendly, this particular layout was added, and that is nothing but the constraint layout. Now let's create one more activity to understand the constraint layout. So we'll add one empty activity, and now let's call this activity as activity 5. And then we'll click on finish. And basically the activity 5, and this will be the preview for the activity 5. Now, when we create default activity, the layout by default added is nothing but the constraint layout. So this is what layout is from the last year. When it create an activity, the by default layout created for the every activity is nothing but the constraint layout. And since it's a more powerful version of the layout, it's a default support for every other activity. Understand the constraint layout step by step, because the constraint layout provides so understanding the constraint layout might be a little bit. So let's try to understand it step by step. So first of all, we have created this particular activity as constraint layout. Now, since we have said this particular constraint layout supports the drag and drop, or it is specially developed to support the drag and drop, we'll now switch to the design mode. As you can see here, I have put the window in the code mode, If I go to the split view, I can see both the things together. So I can see the XML as well as the design view. And if I simply want to go to the design view, I'll click on the simply design. So this is currently the design view that we have. And here we can perform the layout design by using the constraint layout. Now let's try to see how we can convert to the constraint layout. So we'll go to the main activity XML's code view and we'll change this layout from constraint layout to the linear layout, suppose. So if you have any layout other than the constraint layout, and now we'll go to the design mode, and as you can see, it is by default a linear layout. Now if you want to change this particular layout to the constraint layout, you can simply right click on that and click on convert linear layout to the constraint layout. So as you click on this, it will ask you whether you really want to flat the layout hierarchy that we have studied earlier. And once you click on that, you can see the corresponding layout is now changed to the constraint layout. Now, if I go to the code view, you can observe here the layout is basically changed to the constraint layout. Now, the problem is still I'm seeing here as a linear layout. Now, this is not a big problem. It's basically an ID. So it doesn't have any visual impact on your layout. You can change any ID here. So I can simply call it as constraint layout. And as you change the ID, you can see the corresponding name will be changed here. So whatever may be the name, it is not going to affect our visual experience. It's just an ID. So we have changed our layout to the constraint layout. Now we have to understand the constraint layout in detail. So let me increase the size of the screen. Now, the very first thing that you have to understand about the constraint layout is whenever you add any view inside the constraint layout, it will have the anchor points, or we are calling it as the handles. Okay, so let me show this to you. So I'll simply take one text view. I'll simply add it here. So if you are able to see this particular text view, you can see here there are the anchor points. Now how many anchor points are there? There are total 4 anchor points. Let me delete this, or I'll take some other view here. Yeah, now you can see it clearly. Now there are total 4 anchor points across the sides and 4 anchor points across the corners. So we can say there are total 8 anchor points for every view, out of which 4 are across the 4 different sides and 4 are across the 4 different corners. Now, the anchor points which are across the corners are basically called as resize handles. So I can say here are these 4 resize handles. So 1, 2, 3, 4. These handles across the corners are called as the resize handlers. So reason behind this is very simple. By using this particular handles across the corners, I can resize the view. So that's why they are called as the resize handles. Then the other handles that we have across the sides, or which are shown in a circular manner, are called as the side handles. So basically, if you can see here, if I click on this view, the handles which are shown with the help of circle, these are called as the side. So the handles are the resize handles, while the handles which are located at the side or which are shown by the circle are called as the side handles. Now about what about the edges? So every view has 4 edges. As you can see here, this particular button will have 4 edges, out of which this is the top edge, left edge, bottom edge, and the right edge. Similarly, the parent will have also the 4 edges: top edge, left edge, bottom edge, and the right edge. So the thing is, every view inside the constraint layout will have 8 anchor points, out of which 4 across the sides, which are called as the side handles, and 4 across the corners, which are called as the recessed handles. Along with that, we have 4 edges for every view. There is the top, bottom, left, and the right. Now, what will be the significance of all these things? Now, the significance of all these things is basically to set the constraint. Now, let's try to understand what do you mean constraint. Now, I have added the button here. So let me add this button here. Now, let's try to run the code. Now, let's try to run this particular code. We'll simply click on run and we'll launch. So we can see what will be the impact of adding this particular button on the layout. So it will take some time. So it's installing the app and it will launch the app. Now you can see by default this screen is visible. The reason behind this is this screen is given inside the main activity, and main activity is by default set to starting activity. Now the view that we want to see when we run the app is the main activity file.xml. So inside a manifest, we go and we'll remove the intent filter from the main activity, and we'll add this intent filter to the main activity. So we'll add this intent filter to the main activity file, and we'll restart the app. Now, as you can see, we have launched the button visible now. Now the problem here is, even if I have added this button at somewhere, so let's add this button and let's try to see what will happen when we run this particular code. So as you can see, I added the button in the center, but when I run the code, the button will be by default available in the top left corner. So when we add any view to the constraint layout, by added to the top left corner, or we can say at the position 0, 0. The reason behind this is we have not set any constraint here yet. Now, what do you mean by constraint? In order to understand the constraint, we have to remember some simple rules. So in order to add the constraint, we have some rules. The first rule is the horizontal side handles can only be connected to the horizontal edges of the view or the parent. So by using this particular handles, we can connect any view to some other views. So I can say I have to simply click on the anchor. I have to simply attach it to the edge of the another view. As you can see, this button is now constrained with respect to the parent. Now if I run the code, you can see the button is now constrained vertically. Now it is not constrained horizontally because we have not added the horizontal constraint. So let me add the horizontal constraint. So we'll simply click on the anchor point and we'll attach it here, and we'll click on this anchor point, it to the other edge. Now we'll try to run the code and see. Now as you can see, our button is aligned with respect to the constraint. You can modify the constraint by simply dragging the button anywhere. So let's add this drag button and let's try to see what happens here. So as you can see, the button is at this particular position as we go on dragging. Now this is how we have added the constraint. Now what if you want to remove all the constraint? So if you want to remove all the constraint, here is one button given and it says clear all constraints. So if you, it will remove all the constraint. Now if you rerun this particular code, you can see all the constraints are now removed in the top left corner. Now regarding to the anchor points, you have to always remember one thing. Now let's say we have to attach this anchor point with this edge. As you can see, I'm trying to attach it, but it is not possible to attach this anchor point. So the reason behind this is you can only attach the horizontal anchor points with the horizontal edges. So I can simply attach this particular anchor point either with this edge or with this edge, but I cannot assign it to the top or the bottom edge. So horizontal anchor points can only be attached with the horizontal edges. Similarly, I can assign this anchor point with this edge or with this edge. I cannot assign it with respect to the left or the right edge because this is a vertical anchor point. So the very first rule that you have to always remember, horizontal anchor points can be only attached with the horizontal edges of other views, and vertical anchor points can only be attached with the vertical edges of the other views. So let's to attach this particular anchor point and we will constrain it here. And now let's try to run this. Now, as you can see, I have only attached one anchor point. Now the button is visible here. Now only one anchor point, the button is vertically spaced, but it is not taking the position in the horizontal space. So in order to give that, I have to attach this button with the vertical edge and then I can set the constraint. So here you can see the constraints are set for the button. So the 224 dp from the top, 124 dp from the left. Now let's try to run the code and see. As you can see, this button is aligned with respect to the vertical edge and with respect to the left edge. If I want to automatically add the constraint, so let me show you how we can delete the constraint. You can simply click on the constraint and simply click on delete, or you can simply right click here and click on clear constraint selection. So it has cleared all the constraints. Now let's say if I add the button here and if I want to automatically add the constraint, so simply add any view at some point and then you can click on here. So this is called as infer. You go on adding view at any point, and after clicking on the view, if you click on infer constraint, it will automatically add the constraint at that particular position. So if I run code again, you see the constraints are now automatically added here. So infer constraint are automatically add the constraint depending upon your drive. Now the most important thing that we are supposed to show here is, if I click on this button, what I can say here is the constraint widget. Now for this particular constraint widget, we have different symbols here. Now I'll first of all see the symbols for the horizontal manner. So we'll click here. You can see this particular symbol denotes it will match the constraints. When I click on this, the towards the invert shows it is wrap content, and if I set this, it basically shows the fixed width. Now suppose if I want a button of a fixed width, so I need to keep this constraint as it is and then you can resize it. Now as we go on resizing the button, you can see the width and height is now changing. Now if you want this to this, it will automatically wrap the content, and for the width, since for the height, since we have taken the fixed size, so that's why it will take the fixed size. So let's make the height as also wrap content. So we'll simply click here, and now you can see the height is also now wrap content. Now we'll add the constraints here. So let's add the constraint across the two sides. Now you can see the button. Now with this button, as you can see, this is horizontally wrap content. If I make this will be the fixed. I say this button will be 200 dp of width. So this button is of 200 dp of width, and across the vertical, it is matching the content. Now, if I want to span this button across the parent, then I can simply click here and say it as match the constraints. So if I say match the constraint, you can see this particular button is spanning across the width of the parent. So these are the some important things. So the inner arrow shows that this is a wrap content. When I have such kind of symbol, it is says that it's a match constraint. And if I have the fixed bars, it is nothing but the fixed size of the control. Now, if I say the match constraint, you can see by default, the button is taking the entire width of the parent. If you want to add the margins, you can add the margins here. So suppose I want to add the margin of 20 dp from the left. Now you can see it has added the margin of 20 dp from the left. So let's add the same margin of 20 dp from the right. So it will add the margin of 20 dp from the right also. So this is how you can basically align any item and decide the width and height of any item. Now along with that, we have something called as the bias. Now bias is nothing but the position of the control parent. Now in order to show the proper example of the bias, let me change the width of this particular button to wrap content, and now we'll move the horizontal bias. As you can see, I go on moving the horizontal bias, the button will change its position across the horizontal direction. So this is some of the basics of the constraint. The remaining thing about the constraint layout we'll be studying in the next lecture. We'll stop here.